So this morning, I am really, really excited to facilitate this conversation with Esther and with Kaitlin, who you all know very well. And I'm sure you know that both Esther and Kaitlin have been in the staff role as worship ministry director. And that's taken a few different forms. This is Kaitlin's third spring summer, exactly, in this role. And Esther, you joined us early this year, and then a bit of a pause this spring, summer, and maybe you'll talk a little bit about that in your intro, or not. Having a bit of a break this spring, summer, as you your family business is really booming and thriving, and then you're going to join us again in the fall, back in this role as worship ministry director, which we are so grateful for. And I know, right? Yes. And so this morning, we want to have a conversation about worship. And I'm going to have some questions, for these girls. And they've been given these questions. I don't know how they're going to answer, though. So I'm kind of with you on the journey, and we're going to see where the conversation goes, and it's going to be really fun. So we're going to start with, who wants to go first? I mean, you have the mic, Esther, so... Oh, no, you both have mics.
We both have mics. We're both in control. We can talk over.
We're both in control. I'm going to start with you, Esther. Okay. The first question is, share a little bit about yourself, how long you've been around Southridge, and maybe something fun that few people in this room know about you.
Okay. All right, so I'm Esther. I'm married to Colin. I have 2 kids, Gwen and Corey. They're sitting over there. And I also have some family here, my parents, my sister and nieces. Aside from helping in the musical worship support role here, we've also been running a flower farm for about 5 years. And before that, I worked as a freelance photographer, an assistant, and retoucher for commercial photographers in Toronto. I've been here since about 2022, so like 4 years, just before Rick retired. I was like, I got the best of both worlds. But anyways, but I've also been part of church my whole life.
Was that in your script, or was that just...
That was like a part that I thought of putting in, and I was like, maybe I'll take it out, and then
No,
I just
I'm glad
threw
you
it
kept
anyways.
it. That was good.
Something fun. This was hard to think of, because I feel like there's so many fun things that you still don't know about me. And I've had a fun life. But I decided maybe that I was homeschooled for everything up till college, except for music and photography. And being homeschooled, I got to do lots of fun things, like help my dad build 2 canoes and go on lots of trips overseas.
Okay, amazing. I did not know that about you.
Okay.
Very fun. Also, shout out to your family business, because your family does incredible work. Pump House Flowers, like, honestly, really, really beautiful. Yeah. Okay, Kaitlin, all you.
I'm Kaitlin. I've been around Southridge my whole life. My parents, they were at the St. Catharines location way before the Vineland location existed. Actually, you guys were at Fairview Louth, weren't you? Yeah. Dad's up at the top. That's who I'm asking for those who can't see him. I'm just talking into the void. Fairview Louth, Southridge, St. Catharines, and then when Vineland opened up, we came here. So I've been around for a long time. 23 years. I just turned 23. 23 years. I can never remember my age. Something fun about me, I really love to crochet. I picked that up in the last 2 years, and it's become a little bit of an obsession, maybe. I make a lot of different things, and it's a lot of fun. I also really enjoy watching and playing sports, running, etc. Yeah.
Love it. I was just thinking, Kaitlin, when you said that you've been around your whole life, I don't know if I told you this, I was at your baby shower. Yes. So I'm feeling really old right now, and I can attest to, yes, whole life. It's amazing. It's so fun to see you grow up in this community. Okay, my next question is, as a location here in Vineland, of course, we are all so grateful so grateful for both of you and for your leadership in this worship role. And just out of curiosity, what made you say yes to this opportunity?
I can start. So yeah, like Carrie said earlier, my first year on staff was the beginning of 2024. So I started in January, and I was on staff from January to August. And then I've come back from May to August every year since then. Every year we keep saying it's my last, and then I keep coming back. Which has been quite funny. But it's been great. I really loved it. I've always really loved music from a young age. And then as I got older, I started to have the opportunity to play in worship bands and began to really enjoy that, but never really thought it was like something that I myself would lead. I was just very content to be part of it. I really love music. I don't know, I think some of the band members could attest to, there's oftentimes in practice where we end a song and I'm just kind of like speechless. I don't really have a lot of words because I'm just like, it creates a feeling inside of me that I can't really put into words of like the joy that comes from being able to work together with people to play instruments and like sing and like, just come together to create one thing and like the beauty of that, both in like the collaboration, but also just the sound. I really love it. So I've always loved music, and I mean, it's even better when you can do it in a setting that glorifies God, specifically through lyrics and things like that. In high school, I started on like a chapel team, and I was kind of in grade 12 pushed to be the leader because nobody else would do it, and they were all nominating me to do it, and I was like, guys, I don't think I can do this. But I was supported really well. And I that was kind of the start of my leading journey I wasn't leading when we did the chapels, but I was kind of directing practices. And so that was pretty formational in being able to then step into a role like this one. Because at the start I was like, I don't even know what I would say to people to bring them together to create something. So, all of that kind of led to me having and I worked at camp as the worship coordinator. And so those things kind of prepared me to take this job. And I took the job because I felt like God was calling me to be part of leading Vineland. I didn't particularly feel equipped or ready to be the person directing a band for a church. I was like, that feels like a lot. But I felt like God was inviting me to share my experiences and the things that I had learned, just kind of be here and be with everybody and collaborate with all the wonderful musicians we have here. So, I quickly was reminded by everybody on the teams when I started that we're all just here doing our best. We're showing up, and we don't have to be perfect when we come to church, and we don't have to be perfect when we're in a band or when we're trying to put something together for a community to engage in. And so that was really wonderful.
Amazing. We're so glad you said yes 3 years ago. Also, I was curious, how old were you when you joined like a Sunday morning band?
I believe I was in grade 6.
Okay.
I think I got into Riot at the time and then was like, okay, so can I be in the band now? So I think it was grade 6.
So any young musicians, there's a spot for them.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We want you part of it, for sure.
Okay, amazing. All right, Esther, how would you answer that question? What drew you to say yes to this opportunity?
My answer is way shorter. So I actually had done a similar type of role in our last church, but it looked totally different than the one that was happening here before. Not totally, but much of a lesser role, and it was a volunteer role. Anyways, and I have been involved in music teams for many years. Like, my dad was the worship leader at the church I grew up in, and so I was at all the band practices forever until he pushed me up onto it and everything. So I've been involved with music for a long time. And so, I did have some experience. I knew I could help. I enjoy being able to fill a need and being a part of a core team, working together. and getting to know people deeply. Like, I feel like you don't really get to know people until you really dig in and volunteer or serve in some way, get connected. And being like, having this as a job is definitely very weird to me, and I'm still not cool with this entirely, but it's helpful because our farm business, it's pretty slow during the winter for me, so it does definitely help. Also, I was going to add that, when we first came here, Colin and I were in a very difficult time of transition, and so I needed a bunch of times at first to rebuild, get to know people, feel like I was known, feel comfortable, to be able to offer what I thought that I could offer, which I knew it looked different, a little bit different than what other people did. And I think the great thing about here is I feel like you guys are all okay with it. You want everyone to bring like yourself and not try to fit into a different mold of someone else. So feeling affirmed in that way, I felt like I could say yes, and I'm happy to do it as much as I can. So thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm also so glad you said yes, and that you can bring all of yourself and show up as fully yourself in this role as you lead us. Beautiful. That's a beautiful invitation for all of us. Okay, our third question. How would you describe your personal theology of worship? And maybe part B to that question is, what does it mean for you to live a life of worship, not just on Sundays, but in all of life?
Okay. I think personal theology of worship can sound really intimidating. Kind of just, what does worship mean? I think one of the biggest things that I've learned in the last few years about worship that really kind of stood out to me when I learned it was one of my professors at school kind of reminded us, taught us, however you want to phrase it, that creation is constantly praising God. So we're not actually like starting worship. Worship is already happening around us all the time. Creation is a reflection of God and who he is and his character. We can see him in so many things, both from the people around us to trees outside to mountains to oceans to all of the different things. It's possible to see God in it because he created all of it. And so that was just like, it was really kind of groundbreaking to me of like, yeah, okay, like I'm joining something that is constantly happening. Like creation is constantly praising God, and we get to join in with that. Just felt really profound to me and really neat, and just like what a gift to be able to join with the rest of creation, and kind of be reminded that God has created everything. Like we are obviously very unique creations, but everything else God has his hand in and has created, and so we can see him in that. And so, just what a gift that all of creation together, that we can, worship. Worship for me is not just singing on a Sunday morning. I think so often that's what we call worship, and it is, and that's part of it, but worship can be so much more if we have the right heart posture and intention going into it. Like this past year at school, I was able to be in a role where I was helping lead every other week, like student-led chapels. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to try to like kind of communicate to the student body was that worship was so much more than song. And so we would have nights that had like art stations. So whether it was painting or drawing or coloring or like journaling options, blankets on the floor, like just really trying to like break the mold that we sometimes think that like that this, what we do on a Sunday morning when we all stand and sing and maybe occasionally clap our hands, is worship. Worship can be so much more. If we are inviting God into the spaces that we're in, into the activities that we're doing, that too can be worship. Because worship begins with recognizing who God is and his character, and taking time to acknowledge those attributes leads us into expressing our gratitude for him and for who he is. Worship is a response to God. He invites us to worship. He invites us to pause, to recognize him. A couple weeks ago in our last series, Rest and Recreation, Tom talked about Selah and how Selah is a word that's in some of the Psalms, and sometimes our print Bibles don't actually have the word, which I think is kind of sad, but it's there in some translations and some versions you can find it, but it's kind of a word that just means like a sacred pause, an intentional stopping and resting and just fixing our eyes on Jesus. And what a gift that God welcomes us into that, invites us into that, encourages us to do that. And I think my final thought is Romans 12, 1-2.
Yeah, that's one of mine.
Oh! We didn't talk about what we were saying, so we were wondering if there was going to be overlap.
I love it when there's synchronicity like
So
that.
good.
That's so good.
I won't say too much then, but so Romans 12, 1-2 says, "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." And so, here Paul makes it clear that true worship is a living sacrifice. It's a full body and life practice. And so full body can look like clapping or dancing or singing, and life can be, like having fellowship with other people, being in silence, being out in creation, gratitude practices, lots of different things. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, Esther, how would you answer that question?
Okay, this question at first almost made me say no to speaking. I was so daunted by it at first. But as I thought about it, I was like, I guess I do have a couple of things I could say. I looked up the definition in the dictionary first, of course, and it said that it was an extravagant respect or admiration for or devotion to a person or object, which did kind of fit in with what I was thinking. I was thinking, to me right now at least, what's standing out to me is it's like a focusing on everything good about someone, like almost hyper-focusing. In this case, God, recognizing and making known their worth, like a lot of what Kaitlin said already, orienting your life around him, being in awe. And also, gratitude and worship definitely seem intertwined. Like gratitude is like noticing and appreciating something good, and there's so much good about God, right? So I have this good quote that I read somewhere. I think from the Sabbath series that we've been doing. God is at work every minute of our lives, yet we seldom notice. Noticing requires intentional stopping. So definitely, I totally agree with what you were saying. Like, we definitely need to, like, if we're rushing through life, then we're not aware of God's goodness. But if we can, then it'll lead to worship. Also, I wanted to touch on musical worship specifically. Like, I think, like Kaitlin was saying, like we do, I think even our language that we speak about at church, a lot of times we say, oh, now we're going to worship. Come on, we're going to worship. But everything is supposed to be worship in our lives. But music is definitely a gift that God has given to us, and it's a really cool thing. And the Bible does encourage us to use music to worship God. It's totally an example of God's incredible creativity. Music interacts with so many parts of our bodies and our brain. It can influence us before we're born even, all the way until we die. And I was reading a little bit about it because I'm like, there's a lot of good stuff about music, right? And I'm not a scientist, but you can investigate yourselves. But it does say music possesses a remarkable capacity to cause transformative changes in the brain, fostering neuroplasticity and reshaping neural networks. You can use it for therapy. It can shift your mood. It can lower anxiety and stress. Miriam knows all this stuff, I bet, right? But it's so neat, I think, how God created this, and also he's like a feeling and emotional God, right? So all of this is something that we can use as a tool to help reshape ourselves. It can reshape our brains as we're listening to music. If we choose words that, songs that have lyrics that point us to Jesus, it can reshape our brains to be thinking about him, to encourage us, be reminded of truth and God's character. And yeah, it can lift us up and change us. And definitely will bring us to worship because our lives will be changed. Let me just check my notes for one more thing. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, definitely, though, also, I think, everything in our lives can be an opportunity for worship. But I think our focus is really key, our motivation. If we're focusing on Jesus and orienting our lives around him in our day-to-day choices, then our lives truly become worship. I really even like that prayer thing we did a while ago where you held out your hands. There's a video thing. Yeah, where you give every moment of your day, of your life, whatever you're doing. You're going to cook supper, you're going to cook lunch after this, then you can pray as you're doing that. You can thank God for the people around your table. You can even pray before you do groceries or whatever you got to do, picking flowers, all the things. Although I will say also, it's not always easy. It's not easy to worship God all the time. And if you're going through really hard stuff, or if you're feeling negative emotions or emotions you don't really enjoy, then it's really hard to worship God. And I think even if we can still somehow bring that to God and show our trust in him, then that even is worship. Oh, sorry, I just also had that verse. And I just want to read it a little bit again because it's a different version that I have. And I think some of the kids might get this a bit more. It says also, in Romans, Christian brothers, I ask you from my heart to give your bodies to God because of his loving kindness to us. Let your bodies be a living and holy gift given to God. He is pleased with this type of gift. This is the true worship that you should give him. And also in Colossians chapter 3, verse 16 to 17, this verse is so good. It says, let the message about Christ in all its richness fill your lives. Teach and counsel each other with all the wisdom he gives. Sing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs to God with thankful hearts. And whatever you do, do it as a representative of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to him through God the Father.
Can you say more? What's behind the tears?
I just thought this one summed everything up. It's talking about singing, it talks about music, it talks about thankfulness. And I don't know. I feel like God's been talking to me about being able to focus on him more regularly. And this is just a cool, another key for me to be able to just tie it all together. Because I don't like the ups and downs so much in my life, and I want it to be more a regular, sustained type of thing that God is helping me with, right? So I think this is just another thing that kind of ties it all together. That will help.
Wow. Yeah, this is really beautiful to hear your hearts and to hear the invitation that you're inviting us into when it comes to a lifestyle of worship in all that we do. Actually makes me think I read something by author and worship leader Aaron Nyquist. Earlier this summer, he wrote, "We don't come to church to find God. We come to church to learn how to find God everywhere. And I just thought that really tied into what I'm hearing from both of you, and the way that, Kaitlin, you talked about all of creation is already worshiping, and we're joining with what is already happening is just such a beautiful way to really enter into this lifestyle and posture of worshiping, of slowing down, of Selah, of noticing in the ups, in the downs, in all of it. Wow. In closing, what is your one prayer when it comes to worship for this church? What's your one prayer?
Well, you missed one question.
I missed a question?
The anything more question.
Oh, I did miss that question. Okay.
I just have one thing about that.
All right. Anything else I missed?
One incredible thing I've also learned is that gratitude or pausing and really noticing good things actually makes the joy that you feel from these experiences last longer. Which is really cool, because last year I was focusing on joy. I wanted to be more joyful, and I'm like, how do I be more joyful? But if you even, this is like the next thing to make it last longer. And I just think that's just so cool. Like, for example, like if you just look at a blue sky and move on with life, then you'll just move on with life and it won't do anything, right? But if you look at it and you're like in awe of how rich the color is and you soak it in, like that experience will leave you feeling different, right? So worshiping God can also surprisingly bless us with more joy. You would think just worshiping God is all about Him, and it is, and I feel almost selfish noticing that it also blesses me, but it totally does. And so, worshiping, gratitude, shifting our focus, cultivates a deeper connection with God, which in turn helps us feel more joy in our lives. It's like a way of life that breathes life back into us. And there's another verse that I found that just says it so well too. Psalm 16, verse 11 says, "You will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasures of living with you forever."
Oh, it's beautiful. Anything else for you, Kaitlin, that I missed or didn't ask?
I don't think anything crazy, but I do, I think it's really neat that this month we're taking time to focus on prayer kind of as a spiritual practice, and recognizing that God speaks and God listens, and so we need to speak, but we also need to listen, and that's such a part of worship as well, of like where as we worship we're glorifying God, and it's meant to glorify Him, but it's also meant to give ourselves the time to connect with Him so that we can hear from Him, and being present in that too.
Yeah. Okay. What's your one prayer for our church when it comes to worship?
Yeah, I think my prayer for our community as a church and as people of God together is that we would all be able to find freedom and joy in worship. I know for myself, I have a lot of perfectionistic tendencies, and so I can often try to almost like grade myself on like how I spend time with God, or if I did it right, or if I did it well, or like what's like the step-by-step formula to do this right. And it's not about that at all. Like God doesn't ask perfection of us. He just asks us to show up as we are, and to come to Him rather than staying away because we don't feel like we have ourselves together. We don't know how to do it right or what to do. And so, I think my prayer for our church is that we would be able to recognize that, and recognize that so many different things can be worship. You know, if you really love art, like that is glorifying God as you do that. Or if, you really love sports, like that's glorifying God as you do that. Or if you love serving and giving your time to other people, like that is worship, and that's focusing on God. And there are so many ways that we can invite God into what we're doing and put the focus back on Him so that we're giving Him glory and connecting with Him through that. and I don't think that God is expecting us to connect with him or worship him in the same format every time. I think we really miss an opportunity if we put worship in a box and just kind of write it off as one or two things. But yeah, there may be a couple ways of worship that feel really impactful for us and ways that we really feel like we can connect with God, and those are great to engage in, but then it's also great to engage in other avenues of worship that feel harder for us and that are more challenging. So that's my prayer.
That's beautiful. So if like building like a 9-foot Lego man is worship,
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Serving kids at camp this week, worship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so good.
Mm-hmm.
So Esther, I think you have a prayer that you'd like to share with our community as your one prayer for our church. So maybe I'm going to let Kaitlin move to the guitar and invite up the rest of the bands. And then Esther, if you would lead us in your one prayer, that feels like a really fitting way to close off this conversation.
All right. So, yes, my prayer was that we would, I'm going to read my prayer in a second, but just explain that we will truly grow in slowing down and noticing God's goodness, and we will connect more deeply with him in a regular, sustaining way. So this prayer is actually from the Emotionally Healthy Spirituality devotional book that we were doing maybe a couple years ago. I'm still not done it, but this is standing out to me recently. All right, let's pray. Lord, I now take a deep breath and stop. So often, I miss your hand and gifts in my life because I am preoccupied and anxious. Grant me the power to pause each day and each week to simply rest in your arms of love. You are so good and all that I need. Thank you, Lord. Amen. Maybe I'll just read one last verse while Caitlin's getting. Also in Psalm 90, verse 14, it says, "Satisfy us each morning with your unfailing love, so that we may sing for joy to the end of our lives."